Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dmitry Balkovsky of the Reactionary Vlog, and we are in our Moscow studio. Look around, it's very pretty. I have today here with me a very interesting gentleman. His name is Andre Roussow, and he is from South Africa. As our subscribers may recall, I made a video inviting settlers to rural Russia, and it's still there in the video list on the channel, so you may see it if you'd like. And I was contacted by a South African lady asking me about the possibilities of moving and settling in the rural Russian environment. Besides that, it turned out that there is a whole group of South Africans who really want to come and get a taste of Mother Russia. And so today we have a representative of this group with us. His name is Andre Roussow, and he is born and bred South African. So Andre, please tell our viewers why you are here.
As you mentioned, Lindi already made contact with you concerning the opportunity to possibly settle in rural villages. We've read for quite a few years of the tragedy of Russian villages becoming depopulated, and it's really, really sad. And at the same time, in South Africa, the situation is becoming quite untenable for white South Africans, particularly Boer community South Africans. We are, as a culture, farmers, and we are not allowed to farm. In fact, it's just gotten to the point now where it is illegal for a white person effectively to own a farm in South Africa, where it is illegal under BEE laws and regulations to perform most jobs. So black economic empowerment. It's a legal system that is designed in South Africa to redress apparent injustices of the past, but the end result is it is effectively illegal to employ white people. There's no future for white people in South Africa whatsoever anymore. And now we have, of course, the new parliamentary rules that are being passed at this moment about land seizure without compensation. As it is, we have less than 10% of the farmers we had in 1996. We have less than 10% of those farmers are left in South Africa now, and we're losing more and more of them as we go. These are people who are massively skilled in farming. But not just that, we want, there's a lifestyle choice here as well. My family and I have always wanted to really just live a rural life, and to the point where I was actually quite willing to build a tiny house and try to do the sustainable living thing in any case. But when we saw what's happening in Russia, we thought, there's a chance here. We can help Russian communities by improving or increasing certainly their population and bringing new ideas, new population, Christian-minded people to live in these communities. And, you know, there's an advantage in the community that already has infrastructure and housing. It certainly is a big step along towards full sustainability. Before we did this, though, we moved to Europe. My family and I did. So about 7 years ago, my family and I decided to move out to Europe. And we spent a considerable period of time, I don't know if I mentioned this, in places like Ireland and Spain and various places. And it just doesn't fit. It didn't fit. And our kids got really interested in studying Russian for some reason, and got really good at it. In fact, they're perfectly fluent in Russian now. They're watching Masha and Medved and the likes. So we started looking at Russia and the opportunities possible in Russia. And outside, for one thing, for a South African visa, it was attractive that we could come here visa-free for 3 months. It was very, very attractive. And so we came to Russia. We were invited to visit some people in Stavropol, and we went, the similarity between this place and the South Africa of my youth that I remember, the peace and the vitality was just absolutely incredible. It was an incredible experience to stand on the ground and feel a real sense of I'm home. We spoke to some friends and we said, this is amazing, we really need to consider coming. And progressively we built a very large group of highly specialist people who really, really know a lot about farming, about engineering, about factory plant, specifically about farm to shop and farm to table processes and the likes. We have a whole bunch of people who are super eager to move to Russia, move into a village and help upgrade the local economy and become part of the local economy and just reintegrate in a society that we consider to be morally better than anything else we have seen in the world so far.
You know, Andre, it's quite amazing to hear you say that you and your family are desire so much to come here because a lot of people in Russia believe, I would say, that Russia is just not worth considering. Russia is not really a place to live a happy life. So what would you say to that?
This is one of the great tragedies of Russia. And in fact, South Africans suffer from a very similar problem as well. We suffer from an immense inferiority complex. It's really interesting that when you get to Europe and you see that, in fact, nobody's that much more sophisticated, nobody's that much more advanced than anybody else around here. It's a really interesting to discover. But more importantly, there are very few places that have the morality, the sincerity of Russia, the attraction of the moral. Really is important. I have children and I want them to raise them somewhere safe. I sincerely don't believe that Europe is safe, America is safe to raise my children. I've looked around all the world and I've traveled extensively, and Russia is the only place that I feel absolutely secure to allow my children to run and meet and play, and I have no fear.
That would be an unusual thing for many Russians to hear. They would think that you're maybe, I don't know.
Well, perhaps so, but then again, it's for most Europeans or most Americans to hear that Russians are friendly is an inconceivable idea as well. All right, everything we have been told about Russia is an absolute lie. Virtually every single word I've heard about Russia is inaccurate. When I came here, the surprise of the friendliness, the welcoming, once again, the sincerity, the honesty was unbelievable. Everything we told about Russia, and I think Russia had the same problem. The propaganda has been the opposite direction. Russians think that there's some wonderful world out there. There isn't.
Are you sure
what you have here is
with
absolutely
RT?
I don't have any contract. That would be nice. I would very much like RT. I would like a contract. Thank you. That would be very, very nice. You could come and follow my family all over. But no, I have no contract with RT.
Right.
It's just, the simple fact is that every decision that my wife and myself have made over the last 20 years have been for our children. Every single decision. We have 6 children. There's our big family. Okay, and so every decision we have made has been about what is the future for our children. And there's no question that I cannot honestly see a better future than the future I see in Russia for my children. There's growth, there's stability, peace. In many ways, I'd say that Russia has undergone the revolution that Europe is still expecting to go through. Okay, and it's going. Things are going pretty weird in Europe. The things are disastrous in South Africa, as I've explained before. It's just not good. But more importantly, there's a return to Christianity. There's a return to a strong moral base here.
And it is important for you.
It's extremely important. It's extremely important for a lot of people. Orthodoxy is growing throughout all the world because we are feeling the need for some kind of base that is disappearing. And Russia very much stands out as a major bastion of that kind of orthodoxy. So. And
what are the plan? Once you're here, what are you going to do with the...
Well, the plan is pretty ambitious. Okay, on one level, my main plan is I want somewhere nice for my family to live and to grow and to expand. But at the same time, our plan has inspired quite a lot of other people, and we've become part of a big, much bigger group representing many families, many of whom have immense skills in the farming and industry areas. Okay, after all, Boer is farmer. That's what the name of Boer means, is a farmer. We are culturally farmers. Okay. And we're kind of a little bit culturally obsessed about farming, and we're very, very successful at it. And so what we're looking at is that not only is there a rural breakdown occurring in Russia from the population point of view, but also there's the Russian agriculture can grow dramatically, exponentially greater than what it is already. As it is, Russian agriculture is pretty impressive, but we can take it even further. We can get into the packaging. We've got specialists in our group that specialize in the design of factories, of farm to shop and farm to table process and design. We've got engineers, printers, there's all kinds of skilled people that we have. So we're looking at creating a kind of an advisory company that will move around Russia and advise the big cooperative farms and likes on how to improve process, how to increase Russian productivity and Russian output and Russian market share of world agricultural output. So those are some of the things we were really aiming at in inclusion with creating communities. Also one thing we noticed, this is not my first time to Russia. Kind of obviously. All right. When we first came to Russia, we actually stayed in a little village called Karmelinovskaya for 1 month. And interesting enough, that month I integrated more into Russian. I learned more Russian. I don't speak very good Russian, I promise you, but I learned more Russian in that 1 month. Living in Karmelinovskaya in comparison to the next few months that I spent living in Stavropol city itself.
Okay.
When you live in a city, there's no real impetus, there's no real pressure to integrate into your society.
Right.
In a small village, there's far more. We were far more welcomed, far more integrated.
Did they make you drink a lot? Tell me honestly.
Well, yes. Okay, this is true, and we had banyas and all that kind of stuff together. So this is fantastic. But there was an interest. Everybody was there. There were no strangers. You know, the kids immediately came and fetched our kids to go and play and get scuffed up and the likes. And there was immediate interaction in the society. There was no concept that you were a stranger.
That's excellent.
Which in a big city, it's very easy to just say that those foreigners living next door. There was no real integration. So this part of why I think it's so important to move to small villages is that immediate integration into Russian society. And when you do that, you realize we're so similar.
Right.
Okay, as Boers and as Russians, the amount of similarities is actually shocking. Our sense of humor is almost identical.
No.
I've told you a couple of jokes.
Yes, you did.
Our superstitions are the same. Now that's a really strange one. That's really, really interesting. It's just because superstitions are very, very, very culturally specific. Okay, and yet Boers and Russians in the main have almost exactly the same superstitions. Isn't that interesting?
My theory is that when you were moving 2,000 years ago towards Rome, towards Holland and Germany, you were probably passing somewhere in these lands, maybe.
Who knows?
Some you stayed and some.
In many ways, I can say that Russia is the origin of all civilization. There's quite a lot to back that.
Oh, you're just too kind to us.
I'm not too kind at all. Read Herodotus. You actually did accuse me at one point in our previous conversation that I could be an embarrassing Russophile, but and I think I am a bit of a Russophile, to be quite honest. But not because I'm a religious convertee. Okay, I've traveled a lot. I've traveled a lot, and I've seen a lot of countries and lived in a lot of countries. I've lived in places that would be considered to be paradise, like Mauritius and these kinds of places. I've really looked for the ideal kinds of place for a family. And so when I say I really love the idea of Russia, it's seriously considered. It's not just an idealism.
Right,
you know?
right.
There's quite a bit of experience underlying that particular decision.
So your decision is the fruit of many years of travel, thought, and experience.
Yeah,
right?
exactly right. And also a sense that chaos is coming. There's a very strong sense that there is an absolute backswing. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I can't possibly. I don't think mankind has faced as many potential disasters at one single moment as ever before. But, you know, even 7 years ago, I was willing to just be subsistence, just off-grid, just to get away from this madness. And having looked around now, this is better. This is better than just getting away from the madness. This is helping other people escape the madness and creating a real stable world.
So you'd want to see more people coming to you from...
from anywhere. You know,
Europe, America,
wherever. Okay, obviously for me, for the Boer side of me, is I believe. Well, I don't believe this. It's a demonstrable fact that the genocide is occurring, and people need to be saved. I think it's better to save people without making refugees out of them.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, to actually offer people an opportunity to be instantaneously productive members of society.
So Andre, now I have a very unusual request of you. Please say something bad about Russia, because it's been just too much sugar, honey, cream, and peaches and everything nice.
Bad about Russia? This is tricky. Most probably what everybody does. All right, it's your bureaucracy. Okay, the bureaucracy is tough. The biggest problem, of course, is the 3 months visa. Okay, 3 months is simply not enough time for somebody who genuinely wishes to settle in a country to actually achieve anything. You haven't really met anybody in 3 months, to be quite honest. It takes much longer to achieve something. My family and I have had to move to Georgia twice already, okay, due to this visa problem. And we're pretty focused people. We're pretty good at moving to other countries. Folks who have never done it before are going to run into some real trouble there.
Right.
Okay. In addition, being registered wherever you go. I don't know if you know what that means, okay, but this, as a foreigner,
I'm aware.
If you're hosting, if you're staying in somebody's house, they have to register you,
right,
and that can turn into serious issues because A lot of people don't do it, and it doesn't directly, because whatever stuff comes from that, whatever fine is actually belongs to the house owner or whatever, but it impacts on you in other ways. So that kind of administration is a problem, but at the same time, okay, it's still better than European administration. You know, when you consider the bureaucracy of Europe, I've used the metaphor of two kinds of cars, right? You know, so you can have your Volkswagen, you know, old Volkswagen Beetle, okay, versus your
car,
shiny, brand new Mercedes-Benz. The European bureaucracy is like a big Mercedes-Benz. It's very fast, it's very efficient, it does the job, but if something goes wrong, you have zero access at all. There's no human element at all. What goes, it's just, that's it, closed. The book is closed. Russian bureaucracy, it's a little slower. It makes strange sounds on the edges, do you understand? Sometimes it falls apart a little bit. It's human. We all know how to fix it. We all knew how to fix our old Volkswagen. You put a bit of chewing gum there and maybe some tape over there. You can make it work.
Right.
Okay? And in very many ways, it's like we've run into some amazing bureaucrats in our time in Russia, where it's just like these people, there's a human element. You know, we say, let's make this work, okay? We know you didn't quite fill out the correct document at this point. You're like, oh, you're missing such and such. Don't worry, we can make this work. There's a human element, which is critical to a good bureaucracy. After all, a bureaucracy is supposed to serve the people, and when it's too efficient, you know, it gets abused by people who shouldn't be able to use it, and it's completely lost on people who should have access to it. And this is what's happening in Europe in a big way as well. As the bureaucracy is actually controlling to such a degree, there's no human element left at all.
All right.
So I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be criticizing something in Russia, but in fact, I even like your bureaucracy.
You cannot get anything bad out of you. I was trying, ladies and gentlemen, really.
Something terrible.
No collusion.
Oh, do you know what it was?
Yeah, okay.
You do not have a landing ramp for the cruise ships that come in to St. Petersburg. It's the most extraordinary thing. Is that you get onto this cruise liner in Stockholm, and you're basically whisked electrically into your cabin. You know, it's just like it's just electronics the whole way. You know, and then you get to St. Petersburg, and you have to basically jump the last 2 meters. It's like cord down the side of the boat
with the kids.
That was a very interesting introduction to Russia. It was just like, wow, you really have, and then, you know, so you get this idea that like Russia's primitive or something. This is amazingly like not thought through. And then, of course, you get to Moscow, you get to Stavropol, you get to these kinds of places, and you find out these are very advanced, very civilized places, you know. So I don't know what's going on at St. Petersburg, but I think it's a deliberate introduction to Russia. So don't get your hopes up here, man. But the visa thing is something I really wish we had an answer to, so that I could bring people and say, here's a year, you know, have an invitation, almost an invitation, you know, to come and spend a year, see if you can make something happen, learn the language in that time, no pressure, and you know, build something. But 3 months, it's not working. And a lot of South Africans are suffering in the same way, that they have to leave the country every 3 months.
Right.
And it's problematic. So I hope that can get sorted out.
Oh, okay, all right. We'll make note of that.
No.
And as you probably are aware, this channel has a lot to do with bullion, gold and silver. So I wanted to ask you for just a quick second. What are your thoughts about hard money, bullion, gold and silver, their role?
Well, certainly China, India and Russia seem to think bullion is very important right now. There's no question. I mean, these countries have locked down on purchase. Russia is, I think, the largest gold producer in the world at the moment.
Number three.
China, there's not one gram of that is leaving the country, and they're purchasing enormous amounts of bullion as well. That's not for any coincidence. All right. The simple fact is that the concept of fiat currency is kind of mad, right? It's an insane idea. It's just like this currency is strong because everybody believes in it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. And it's like faith is a very powerful thing, but it's also an extraordinarily fragile thing, as we know. The entire world economy could be dependent on faith and faith alone.
Right.
Okay. Right. In a petrochemical, okay, or in a petrodollar, it doesn't make sense really. You know, the big players are definitely collecting bullion at the moment. That's without question.
They are.
Okay. I've got quite a bit of silver myself that I keep. I don't really like gold. I think gold is overvalued at the moment. I'm not sure how you feel about that one, but then again, gold hasn't really changed much in the last 12 years. There hasn't been over much fluctuation. 12 years ago, it shot from like $500 to $1,500 in the space of like 6 or 7 months. It was absolutely insane. Okay, the side of the rocket, and it hasn't really done that again.
Yeah, it's been sort of...
It's a sort of flat line, and so you could actually expect that at normal inflationary rates, we've actually caught up with that over the last 12 years or so. So maybe gold is actually, at the moment, a representation of the value.
But you'll enjoy silver more.
I love silver. The silver feels right in my hand. Okay, silver feels like a barterable good. I could go into a bar and say, "I'll give you a silver coin for a beer," and nobody's going to argue that with me.
All right.
But what can you exchange a gold coin for when it comes to? Let's imagine end of world scenario.
Yeah.
Okay, where it really is money means nothing anymore.
Right,
blah blah
right.
blah. It's a direct barter stuff. Gold is so valuable that there's very little that you can actually buy that anybody will sell you for gold.
Okay.
Yes, if you think about it, okay? Silver is a barterable good. It's a genuine currency.
Right. So you're a silver bug.
I'm a silver bug.
Nothing wrong with that.
But I will say, I don't think I'll be able to compete with the big boys when it comes to gold or anything like that. But it is telling that some of the most stable economies in the world today, and you know, we were talking about Russia and how much I like Russia. Just look how Russia went through the big world economic collapse. And that wasn't an American collapse. That wasn't a European collapse. That was an absolute global collapse. In 2008? Yeah, 2008. Yeah. That was the whole world. Everybody. South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, everybody. There wasn't one country on earth but one. Okay? And that was Russia. That wasn't absolutely, really the disastrous effect.
Hit pretty hard too.
We were hit, but not nearly like the rest of the world. Because there's some clever guys out here. You guys have got some real clever thinkers that are doing some pretty clever fiscal things. And nobody can argue that China has got a very long-term fiscal policy. And these are the guys that are doing the gold. These are the guys that are buying gold. So there must be a lesson there.
Well, Andre, it's been a very interesting interview. It was very nice talking to you, and thank you. And I'm really happy to have you, and I'm looking forward to having your family and your colleagues, your like-minded people. We were trying to find an English word for Russian. Yeah. So your sort of last words, quote unquote, to our viewers and to everyone.
If you're a Russian, love your country a lot more than you do, because you don't know what you've got. If you're not a Russian, come and see what Russia's got. It's pretty awesome. And I hope to be a part of it. And hopefully we can make some kind of an administrative setup to allow many of my countrymen to come and live in this country.
Oh, excellent.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Andre.
Perfect.
Thank you.